Every great presentation is made up of both form and function. Lawyers are very good at the function part, the facts, the issues, the details, wonderful. Where there's room for improvement, though, is in the area of delivery and form. In this video, we're going to explore how to add more presence and more energy to any presentation. And it all starts well before you get up on stage or up behind the podium, and that is with practice and rehearsal. If you can know your material just that much better, it's much like an actor or actress in a musical or a play. They know the material so well that they can be fully present in the way they present it and deliver it to the audience. So be as prepared as possible. The next thing is you want to make sure you avoid the talking head behind the podium. We've all seen that. The man or woman who stands up there behind the podium, they bury their head and they read their notes, they barely look up. That is a recipe for disaster. Let's avoid that at all costs. But the other things you can do to add just some simple improvements to any presentation are, first of all, to try to have a wireless microphone, one that might pin to your lapel or your top or tie. That will let you be able to look to your left, to your right, you move around. That way you can be more natural as you deliver. Maybe even allowing you to step out from behind the podium and connect better with your audience. The other thing is, too often I see lawyers will stand up there and they'll grab onto the podium and have no gestures whatsoever. Now, you don't want to be too crazy with your gestures, but we naturally use our hands all the time in everyday conversation. We say things like, "I had the worst headache. Traffic was everywhere. Oh my goodness, it was well beyond the reach." I mean, they'll use gestures, we all do, in the way we talk. So be authentic and use gestures as you speak. It will also add some impact to your voice. It'll add inflection. It'll add some realism. And I want to have that in every presentation. The next thing is eye contact. It's very tempting just to look at your notes or to look at one particular area. That's okay. But better yet, try to find a person within your audience and focus on that person for a sentence or two. Then find another person and connect with him for a sentence or two. And then bounce around the room over and over. That will increase your ability to connect immeasurably. Further, consider how you might vary the pace of your speaking. Once in a while, you can speed up. This is very important. I want to really go through this quickly. And then you might want to slow things down to really drive home every point. So that variation in pace is a nice way for the audience to have a way to listen and perceive you differently. Also, don't ignore how loud you are. Very often, speakers will underestimate how loud they are and they'll think the microphone does all the work. You still need to project fairly well, and I always say the rule should be whatever conversation level is for the room, to try to go just one notch higher than that. That will be an ideal place to be. And then finally, don't be afraid to pause. Now, you want to pause at the right time. After you make a particularly interesting point, you want to drive home an idea, let it sit out there for a few seconds. Let people process what you just said. Think of a pause as white space on a paper. When you write a document or type up something, you don't have zero margins. You have space between paragraphs. You have space along the side. All that will add to a realism and a way for your audience to really think through what you're saying and appreciate when you do talk. So if you can add these types of measures to your next speech, move around, gesture, volume, pausing, adding some inflection, those kinds of things will really increase your presence and have people listen more, pay attention more, ask better questions, and most importantly, give you higher evaluations.